This video is in answer to a poster on an Embird Facebook group, and this poster had a problem making an applique from a column. So normally that's how we make appliques. The quick and easy way in Embird is we make them from a column. But her column looked like this, and here it is over here, and if I hit edit, you'll see her entire shape was the column instead of having the column just on the edges. So with that, what happened is it closed the edge up here when it converted it to an applique here. So I'll show you the process of how you would convert this to an applique correctly. Because even though we think of an applique as, the fabric, the solid piece of fabric or what have you that we're going to be putting down, the actual applique stitches that Embird is interpreting would be the stitches going around the outside. Embird's not stitching anything in here. So that's why when we convert, when we convert to an applique, we have to tell Embird we want these stitches to be converted to an applique, not these. So we have to create an outline around our shape, and then that outline eventually gets converted into an applique. But since this is a column, we have to convert it to a fill, then give it an outline, convert that outline to a column, and then convert that column to an applique. So I'll show you how we do this from start to finish. So I'll just create new, and I could start out with a fill or a column, but I'll just start with a column. And I usually like column B. That's what I'm used to. And I'll just start there, and I'll come down here. I'm going to bring in a guideline, and I'm going to snap to that guideline, and I'm going to bring in another guideline. I could snap to grid, but I'll just snap to guideline. I'll snap there. And then I'll snap this one up here. I'll just make it look something like that. And so that's one side. And then these are the tools how you make your objects symmetrical. So since I'm going in this vertical type direction, I just click this, but I have to be on the end to do that. So since I'm doing a column, I have to do it twice. So I'll do this side first and hit this. Okay, that made the inside. Now I'll click this node and hit it again. And so there's my symmetrical object. Now I may not like that, so let me do Control Z twice. I want to get it to be as pretty as the other one I made. Okay, so we'll click this and hit that. I don't think it's still going to be as pretty. For some reason, that other one sure was pretty. Okay, I mean, that's not bad, but oh, I know why. Because my line here was closer. This line was closer to this. So let me bring this over. I think that's why it was prettier. And maybe this was longer. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at it. Sometimes you get lucky and make something really pretty. Okay, so on this note, I'll click that, click this one. Okay, we'll just go with that, and I'll hit check or enter. So there's my column, but I can't make an applique from that. I mean, you can look up here and say convert column to applique, and you'll see what happens. It closes it. So Control C, because it thinks this whole thing, well, in fact, it's true, this entire object is the applique. If I were to, let's just insert end of segment. I have to do it here. Insert. These have to be square nodes, and then end of segment. You know, this is the applique. You know, if I had more nodes, you'd see these lines going all the way around. So Embird is saying, oh, you want this whole thing to be considered your column? So that's why it closed the edges. So what we want to do is we have our column, and you want to make an outline out of the column. You can't create an outline from the column, so you'll just do a column to fill. So now it's a fill, and then you'll create an outline from the fill. So there's your outline, and then you create a column from that outline. And you can make it however big you want. Usually 3 or 4 mils is an applique satin. So I'll just leave it at 3. And here it is here. Let me make it a different color. So there it is. Now sometimes it may get distorted up at the points or what have you. If that were the case, then you would click on your outline, and instead of making your start point here, make it like down here or something, just to get these points better. But this time it generated just fine. So now it's a column, and so now you can convert that column to an applique. And there it is, there's your applique. And then you can't see the layers of the applique. You know, sometimes people want to see the layers so they can edit them or just be able to see them. So once it's an applique, convert split applique into layers. And so now you can see them. And you could change them if you like. You know, you can go into parameters. Let's hide these. And so here is your placement, and you can copy and paste this so that you have a placement in a single run tack down. So you would do Control C, Control V, insert before, and just turn one of them a different color, you know, so that your machine will stop for the placement. You can put your fabric down, and then you can tack it down with a single run. And then for the next part of the tack down, this is your zigzag. It shows as a column, but if I generate it, you'll see the zigzag. And let me just show you what happens. So I'll hit generate, and we don't see all of it, and we see a little blurb here that we don't want. We don't see all of it because I'm like in vector view, even normal view doesn't show it. But if you go into 3D, you'll see what's happening to this edge. So the way to fix that is to go into the parameters of the column. And so you'll see for this zigzag, this double zigzag, the way it was created was Embird made a column, but it didn't give it cover stitches. In other words, it didn't give it the satin. It's only giving it a zigzag underlay for the column. So the zigzag underlay for the column is a double zigzag. So that's great. That's what we want, but we don't want this mistake here. So the way to fix that is a lot of times auto corners either makes your design prettier or it kind of isn't what you want. So you'll uncheck it and then hit apply to generate the stitches and keep the window open at the same time. Hit apply, and now it came into line. And it may not look good from a distance, but if I zoom in with my plus key, you'll see they look pretty much the same. So that fixed that. And so we'll just hit OK. And I did save this offline up here, so I'll just do Control S to save it again. So at this point, because these are two different colors and you know this is a different color than the satin that's next, you can trim again. You can, you know, stitch this and trim again. So you can leave this a different color than the satin so that you can trim again, or you can put it the same color as the satin. So let me Control Z, just right click, hold, let go, set identical color. So now it'll just stitch that zigzag underlay and go right into the satin. But it will only do so if your machine does not trim jumps. Some machines don't trim jumps. Some machines you can set it to trim jumps or not. And you can see because of the red scissor here, we have a jump. It's not a big jump. If I come up here and hit edit, you'll see that this starts right here. I hit home, it shows me the start. If I hit end on my keyboard, it's the same spot. And for this one, which is, you know, this zigzag, you know, this is the satin, this is the zigzag. So remember, the zigzag is narrower, so it's going to start in the same spot. If I hit edit, it's narrower, so it's almost the same spot. Okay, you can see by these dots, you know, it's different than the satin. So it starts there if I hit home and ends there. Hit, you know, starts and ends in the same spot. So there's going to be a small jump. Just X out. If you have your machine set to trim jumps and you don't want your machine to, you know, do the zigzag, trim it, and then do the satin, you know, start again, that's can be a pain. So if you don't want that, just create a connection here, in which case there's no ties. Just know that if I right click and create a connection, now there's going to be no tie off on this one and no tie on this one. So if you do stitch your zigzag and you say to yourself, oh, there's some, you know, stragglers that I want to trim, you have to either stop your machine in time before it ties off, or you can set your machine to not trim jumps. because this is such a small jump, you could see how tiny it is. If I click on the connection, it's very small. If I hit edit, it's a connection now, but if it were a jump, if I deleted it, that's how long the jump would be as well. So it's up to you. There's so many choices. You have so much control. So I'll just put it in. And I'll just say, I'm just going to wing it. So I'll just leave it like that. Just know that you have so many choices. So then that would be your satin, your applique. So I'm in 3D. I'll hit generate. And so there you go. And then if you wanted to keep your originals up here, you can keep them here in Studio, but then when you get into Editor, just be sure to delete those. A lot of times I'll make them yellow, so I know that I have to delete them in Editor. Save that. All right then. Well, I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you next time.